which have really shown me in a major way. The last full moon fell on the Jupiter in my chart, and my Jupiter is opposite Uranus. So that the whole profession, astrology, etc., is all incorporated into that. And also just being really made aware of where some people are at. I'm not going to go into that though. Just carrying on, shining my own light. Those people can continue to operate in their small town kind of mentality. But, you know, being a light worker isn't always a walk in the park, but on we go. So I'm going to hold up the chart for you. And if you look up here, this is where the sun and the moon is. And obviously all the other planets are in their position. But this is like a launch point. And the Sabian symbol has significance then. So being in Virgo, we want to be very specific. And Virgos are great because they get drill right down into the detail of things. And also they're very good with boundaries. So it's this, not that. Whereas Pisces, I'm Pisces, and that's the opposing sign. So a lot of my really important lessons have come through Virgos. I had a lot of friends at school that were Virgos. And as I've gone through my life, the people who've really had a big influence on me have had that Virgo kind of polarity, because you can learn so much from each other. It doesn't mean you necessarily make the best connection in terms of partnerships, because you can really annoy each other as well. Like the Pisces can just be too broad and the Virgo can just be too specific and critical, and it's got to be perfect. It's got to be this way. Look, perfectionism is one of my, what should we say, addictions, and I really struggle with it. But nonetheless, it's good to do a good job. And so I want to talk about the meaning of this Sabian symbol. These are ancient symbols, but the meanings were updated in about the early 1900s by this woman called Elsie Wheeler, who was a high-level psychic, and a gentleman called Mark Edmund Jones, who was an astrologer. He was a doctor. And so they went through the 360 degrees, and they downloaded a symbol for each degree. So that's just a bit of background. So this one is about pulling the mask off. This one is about realizing your true potential underneath what it is that you've built around yourself in order to survive in the world. A lot of how we operate is actually about having a mask on, especially if you come from a trauma background where you really have to survive. So if you've had any kind of childhood trauma or even relationships trauma in your older years, then you build a shell around yourself. You build a mask in order to survive. Children are dependent on their caregivers for love, for comfort, for affirmation, for all of that sort of stuff. And if they don't get it, they can't really be who they truly are. It's not safe. And so sometimes when we've had to do that in order to survive, then at some stage we either continue to live in the shell of that, or we go in and we do the work and we go back and we retrieve that part of ourselves. We retrieve that part of ourselves that may not have got validated when it needed to. So seeking external validation from others can be a sign that there's work to be done. And the work is ongoing. It's lifelong. You might chip down to part of it and clear that, and then things will arise again in your life and you'll go, ooh, better take some time out. So taking time out, if you can, is crucial. Also seeking out a really good healer, energy healer might assist with that. But in any event, a lot of the work is work that we do ourselves, and having the time and space to do it really is important. So not having distractions, not being on the phone, not drinking, not kind of zoning out, resting, just sitting with yourself, having a bit of a longer time in bed, having baths, doing things to just kind of like really bring your energy down and really relax into yourself and who you are and what you're here to do. One of the things I've noticed, and you may have had that experience yourself, is how many people really want to pull you down. It's a terrible thing. Humans can be despicable. You know, in the spiritual community, there's talk of love and light, and we're all in this, and let's all support each other. And it really is, it really doesn't recognize people's darkness, and we all have that. We all have the shadow. We all have the shadow where we project onto others, or we pull others down because we don't like the way they're behaving, or we think they ought to be doing things differently. So this Sabian symbol also has some additional meanings, and I'll say there are two great people who do Sabian symbols. One is Linda Hill, and sorry, I always get that mixed up whether it's Hall or Hill, but if you Google Sabian symbols Linda Hall, I'm pretty sure that's it. It will come up for you. And there's another gentleman, his name is James Burgess, and he's got a site called Sabian Symbols as well. And they're both mystical people, like they've really, and also humanitarian, in the sense that they both dedicated endless hours to creating access to this information for people to help with their own sort of spiritual development and just getting a deeper understanding of things. I'll take a breath. We live in a world where things can be really superficial. I saw a little girl, she wasn't little, she was like a young woman, and she was on TikTok, and I saw her yesterday. She came up, it was the first thing that came up when I went onto TikTok, and she's there with a wad of cash, and she's counting her cash, and she's kind of dressed quite seductively, and she's talking about how men pay her to go and have dates with them. I don't know what the extent of that was. I just kind of watched a little bit and then scrolled on. It's a little bit like a drug dealer being on there saying, oh, look what my clients pay me to give them drugs. And this thing of the emptiness of existence, where people identify so much with the physical body and the physical world that they're just concerned with the here and now. They're not concerned with the bigger picture. They're not concerned with the fact that they're an embodied soul. And people take so much time and energy on the external appearance with their false nails, especially women with their false nails and their false boobs and their silicone injections and, you know, whatever it is that they do to help feel like they're acceptable, to feel validated. And it really misses the point. If you're a spiritual person or you're interested in spiritual growth, you really have to go down into the darkness of yourself to find the beauty of yourself, because you can't find a diamond. You can get diamonds in jewelry boxes, but we're talking about spiritual diamonds here. You can't find a diamond just by kind of brushing across the surface. You have to go down deep. You have to work hard, and this is all part of it. And I feel that this Sabian symbol is speaking to this kind of thing, getting right down to the heart of things, pulling the veil off. Now, when we think about a veil, we think about a bride, perhaps on her wedding night, where the veil comes back, and that's, but also in the church or in the ceremony, when the face is covered. It's like the mystery of this coming together of the masculine and the feminine. And if we look at what the purpose of that is, it's the creation of new life. We are a species and a civilization that requires people to come together to create new life. And so we have marriage as a symbol of the importance of that role. We're not all individuals just here doing our own thing, although in this day and age it's easy to fall into the trap of really getting seduced by all of that. But just remember, you have an eternal soul and you're here for a lifetime. You may come back for another lifetime. I don't know. I can't be sure. I understand the concept of reincarnation. I understand that when Jesus died, that he was seen again. And perhaps this was his way of showing people that there is an eternity. And perhaps that eternity is not that you disappear into eternity, but that you come back to have another go, to do better. And so this idea of karma, we could go, oh, well, it's all settled in the afterlife. You either go to purgatory or hell or heaven. But who's able to get the business of living as a human right the first time? Very few people. So we must see ourselves as on an evolutionary spiritual journey as well. And my approach is really get it right the first time so you can reduce the number of times you have to come back. Because life can be challenging, right? So going through a little bit of a challenging time myself at the moment. So if you can send a bit of love my way, I'd appreciate it. Also, if you'd like to support my work, I'm in the process of writing my memoir, which is an astrobiography. It's called Astrology Saved My Life. It's about the journey that I've gone through. And it really was a journey of great struggle right from the beginning, right from my childhood, all through. And when I discovered astrology, I realized that I had a little map to try and work things out in a way that wasn't available to me before. I'd been raised in the church, but like many people raised in the church, I looked at the institution and I looked at the people and how they behaved. And it just didn't resonate with my concept of what I thought God was, or what I thought Christ consciousness was all about. And so I moved away from the church in order to go on a bit of a spiritual journey. And I went through all kinds of different exploration points. And so this is a little bit of a story about that journey. And if that untrapped trauma remains in you, you attract circumstances and people to come in to make you aware of it. That can be painful. It can involve repeating patterns. But look, darlings, thank you for listening. I hope you all have a lovely day. And if you like my video, if you found it useful, please share it with others. And I am going to be spending the next week really focusing on my art, my memoir. These are things that help to feed my soul. And all of this I found in my chart as well. You really can find your strengths and your weaknesses in the chart. So I do readings for people in astrology. I also have psychic ability, and I give spiritual guidance. I like to talk to people about their life in terms of a spiritual or soul journey. So take care, lovelies, and I will be doing some more of my oracle cards, just as I feel guided to do it, rather than doing it in a kind of robotic way. Take care, lovelies.